start with a brief discussion about bikes and bike safety. Of course, we're in the midst of creating a new bike plan for the city of Houston, and the issue, and we've already embraced the goal zero and working toward that. We're a safer bike community than we ever have been before, but we also have more bicyclists out than we ever have before. And I've been fairly blunt that my initial goal was to get as many bikes off the streets as I could, and we were creating this great system of trails. But roads are supposed to be safe for bicyclists as well, and that's a responsibility on the bicycles to be visible. But these latest round of accidents where we've had bicyclists hit who had the flashers on, who were riding with the traffic laws, I think their biggest problem is distracted driving, and we really need to do a crackdown on distracted driving of all kinds. Texting while driving kills people, but there's other kinds of distracted driving as well, and I want to offer my condolences to the families of those bicyclists who have been killed and injured, but also a strong plea to drivers out there to pay attention. Bicycles have a right to the road, and buzzing bicyclists are not recognizing how vulnerable bicyclists are is part of the problem that we're having. I also want to wish everybody a happy and safe Pride weekend and a Pride parade. I know we're all kind of hoping that it's either going to be a really festive parade or a really angry parade, depending on what the Supreme Court chooses to do. But I know that a lot of folks, it's going to be a change because it's coming downtown, and I hope everybody makes the transition and enjoys it. And there's a lot of places downtown where parking is free at night. So while you may have to pay parking during the day as you come down for the festival, for the parade itself, it should be easy parking and lots of ways to get in and out. You won't have to walk as far as you did in the neighborhoods. We did delay the passage of the capital improvement plan for 2 weeks. It's a companion piece to the budget. It's slightly different from the budget. It is a plan. It's not a mandate. The expectation is, though, that the projects that appear on the CIP are going to be built. It is a 5-year look into the future, and it's always a difficult juggling act getting it all to fit in, and all the council members are feeling a little bit of the pinch. But I trust that we will pass that in 2 weeks. Anybody have a good question?
Yeah, right. Can you talk a little bit about, I know you guys are sort of starting to get a better picture of the scope of Memorial Day flooding damage. Can you talk about what that looks like now in terms of how many homes are going to have to be rebuilt, and are you concerned about the hardship that's going to put on homeowners?
The latest damage estimate we have, and this is a dynamic number, and I don't know when we'll actually get a final tally, is $41 million. Far cry from Ike or Allison, $41 million. And FEMA's latest impact estimate, they have 7,680 total individuals registered. That can be people who are displaced because their apartments have been flooded out, or people whose homes have been damaged or substantially damaged. And they've already awarded through FEMA more than $12 million to Houston. But again, we continue to refine that number and work through it.
Back to the budget a little bit. In most cases, the CIP budget is passed right after, the week after the regular budget and before the end of the fiscal year. I understand that this is not critical, but can you explain why it's okay to go to a week into the...
Actually, when I was a council member, we often passed it really late in July. It was running a week late because of frankly, because of the flood. just staff time slipped away. But the projects that are already in the pipeline will continue. Some of those projects they're in design, and that work will continue. So the goal is to pass it as quickly as possible. Remember, last year we passed a 4-year plan, so you just operate, a 5-year plan, so you just operate on the remaining 4 years going forward until the next one is passed. The goal is to pass it in 2 weeks.
Any changes this year from last year in the CIP?
Yeah, that's what council members were fussing about. Not only, it happens each year, we add the 5th year on in the front end, and we make adjustments. It is a plan, and subject to change during the course of the year. And as I've explained to council members, and we've had this conversation with them, that a number of things can cause the dollars to shift that are available for the CIP. The first thing is that we have a debt capacity. Just like a homeowner has an amount they can borrow for a mortgage, the banks look at them and decide whether you're credit worthy and how much you can borrow. We have a borrowing limit based on the amount of our annual income that we set aside to pay debt, the overall debt capacity. And we had already sucked up all of that debt capacity for the next few years for previously approved projects. In addition, we had some contingency amounts that were set aside for things that come up during the course of the year to make for our capital projects. Last year, that was removed by council to create the council district service budget. Wasn't able to replenish that this year, and then on top of that, we made the decision that it was time to begin to pay back some of the 380 infrastructure amounts and all of those, and then there's been a rising cost in construction. So 3 major reasons caused us to shift some projects around, and council members are complaining about that. Really, they have the ability, again, unlike the budget, these are their projects. They can mix and match and shuffle them around, but they have to get all of their colleagues to agree with them.
Mayor, can we shift back to flooding for a second? I know you talked about the numerical scope of the damage, but sort of anecdotally, what are some of the fears and concerns that you've been hearing from homeowners? I know that early on, 2 weeks ago, you were worried about just the sheer volume of information people were getting and whether or not it was always the correct information. Do you feel like that's
one of the most frustrating things is that as much as we put out information and say, there's a reason that we have a permitting process, we want to help you, it's not a got you, and in fact, for those who are substantially damaged in Meyerland, I can almost guarantee that if you just go get a new appraisal of pre-flood value, you shouldn't have any problem. You just need to work with us. It is in the city's best interest to have every one of those houses rebuilt. We don't want a property that's declared unbuildable, and because we lose the value on that. But the more we say, come in and talk to us, we want to help, the more they try to hide, and it's just a frustrating process. If you're doing construction on your property and you have more than simply like replacing a carpet, you have to pull permits. And we will go out and red tag properties if we find them doing construction that's unpermitted. That is a lot more expensive. If you have to stop and you may have to undo, we really don't want people to have to undo any work. And by allowing us to work with you in the permitting process, we can also weed out some of the charlatans out there, because there are a lot of folks that come into a disaster area and try to take advantage of folks. We have people whose lives were upended. We have people whose homes were destroyed and everything they own is gone. The majority of the city was untouched by the flood, and we keep going on, and so one of the dangers is that 95% of the city that was untouched is going to forget that we have some pockets that were really seriously impacted, and it's our responsibility to make sure we stay on top of it.
Mayor, can I ask a question? there's been a debate in the country since the Charleston shootings about Confederate symbols. Are there any statues or other symbols here in Houston that what are your thoughts on any remaining such symbols?
There are, in every city across the South, I think there are symbols of the Confederacy, generally statues that were raised to soldiers or Confederate war heroes. There are buildings named after people. And I think there's some sentiment to go and we need to rip them all out and melt them down or whatever. I think the Confederate battle flag, which is, there were multiple flags used in the Confederacy. The Confederate battle flag is a unique symbol because it has been appropriated by white supremacist and racist hate groups and used as a rallying symbol. And I think we need to remove that from any public display. But on the other hand, well, there's the Spirit of the Confederacy statue that's over in the park right across the street. You have to know it's there and you have to go down and find it. And I don't know if it has a name tag on it or a nameplate on it. But I don't think that's a really productive use of our time to go try to root out our past. More importantly, use it as an opportunity to educate and to have the kind of conversations that clearly need to be had in this country.
That just reminds me, though, of another matter of recommending expunging the disciplinary record of Officer Thomas. While I understand the reason for that, but also does it remove the historical records so no one can find it?
There would be it does. I mean, the answer to the question is that it does. But Officer Thomas is a living human being, and the fact that we are taking this step to restore him to a perfect record in the police department, I think is an important gesture to him and respect to what he had to endure as an officer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mayor, since you mentioned the statue back in the park, the Confederacy, have you gotten any complaints of people? I mean, I just found that, a month ago when I was I was surprised to see that statue.
There's no, and the short answer is no. Now, since the Charleston incident, I think there's a whole lot more discussion about that, but there's statues to Andrew Jackson, the former president of the United States, scattered all over the place. And for Native Americans, he was the great exterminator. He committed genocide. So where do we stop?
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
I noticed that statue too. I run around there, and I'm like, oh, man, really? Because I really like it. Like it's got the nice big wings and everything.
Yeah, it's not. No one's ever in that park except when there's.
Because you got to go all the way down
Yeah.
to find it.
I was there during, I don't know, sometime, I think it was a 5K or something. I was just walking around the statue.
Confederates, I know. Oh, like, did it?